Joshua's wife died because of his pride and ego. And the most terrifying part is that she did not die outside. She died inside their own home, close enough to be saved, close enough to be heard, but too far because Joshua refused to soften. And the worst part? It started with a simple breakfast. It was a Monday night in Abuja, the kind of night that looks normal until it becomes the night that changes everything. Joshua returned from work later than usual. He was tired, irritated, and mentally drained. The house was quiet, too quiet. No sound from the kitchen, no movement, no welcome home, no soft music playing like it usually did. He called out, "Glory?" No response. He walked further into the house and noticed small details that felt wrong. The living room light was on, but the television was off. Her slippers were neatly placed where she always left them. Her handbag was on the dining chair. Her phone was on the table. Everything looked arranged, yet the air felt heavy, as if something had been removed from the house. Joshua called again, louder this time. "Glory!" Still nothing. A cold fear rose in his chest. He walked quickly to the bedroom and pushed the door open. Glory was on the floor beside the bed, not moving, not breathing. Joshua froze for a second, like his brain refused to accept what his eyes were seeing. Then he rushed to her and dropped to his knees. "Glory! Glory!" he shouted, shaking her gently, then harder. Her skin was cold, her lips were pale. Joshua pressed his ear to her chest, hoping for anything. A breath, a heartbeat, a sign. There was nothing. His hands started trembling. His voice broke as he called her name again. "Glory, please!" But she was gone. Joshua screamed for help. Neighbors rushed in. Someone called emergency services. Someone suggested CPR. People tried, but it was too late. The ambulance came and the paramedics confirmed it. Glory was dead. Joshua did not cry immediately. He just sat there on the floor, staring at her body like a man whose entire life had been unplugged. It felt unreal. It felt impossible. But the truth was sitting right in front of him, and then the memory hit him like a slap. Glory tried to wake him up earlier that morning. He pushed her away because he was angry, because he was proud, because he wanted to win. Now the woman he loved was lying lifeless in front of him, and the silence he used to punish her had become permanent. To understand how it got this bad, the story has to go back a few days earlier. Joshua and Glory were not a struggling couple. They were not the kind of couple that fought every day. They were both educated, both working-class professionals, and their marriage was the type that looked peaceful from the outside. They had routines that kept them close. They cooked together sometimes. They laughed often. They discussed plans like partners, not enemies. Even on busy days, Glory still made the house feel like home. She liked soft music in the mornings. She liked dinner conversations at night. She liked small gestures, like sending Joshua a text during the day saying, "Hope work is going well." Joshua, on his own part, was responsible and hard-working. He loved Glory, but he had one weakness: pride. He hated being wrong. He hated apologizing. He believed that once a man apologizes first, he loses respect. That mindset was quiet, but it was dangerous. The week everything collapsed started on a Thursday morning. Joshua had an early meeting at work. He woke up tense, already thinking about deadlines, expectations, and the pressure to perform. Glory noticed his mood and tried to make things easier. She prepared a quick breakfast, tea and bread with scrambled eggs. As she served the food, the tea spilled slightly on the tray and made the presentation look messy. It was not a big deal. It was something that could be wiped in 2 seconds. But Joshua stared at it with irritation. Instead of letting it go, he spoke sharply. "Glory, you are always careless. Can you ever do anything properly?" Glory's face changed immediately. Not because she was weak, because she was shocked. The tone was unnecessary, the words were disrespectful, and it came from someone she loved. She did not argue, she did not insult him. She simply placed the spoon down gently and said, "All right, Joshua, enjoy your breakfast." Then she carried her bag and left the house without eating. Joshua expected her to come back later with an apology, but Glory did not. She went to work and stayed quiet. That evening, Joshua returned home. The house was normal, but the atmosphere was not. Glory greeted him politely, but there was no warmth. Dinner was ready, but she barely spoke. Joshua also did not speak. He was waiting for her to accept fault. Glory was waiting for him to realize he crossed a line. Friday passed in silence. Saturday passed in silence. It was not the loud kind of fight. It was the cold kind. The kind that makes the home feel like a waiting room. They stayed in the same house, but they avoided each other emotionally. They ate at different times. They spoke only when necessary. Joshua told himself he was teaching her a lesson. Glory told herself she would not beg for basic respect. On Sunday evening, Glory decided to end the tension, not because she was wrong, but because she wanted peace. She walked into the living room where Joshua was sitting and said calmly, "Good evening, Joshua." Joshua heard her, but he did not respond. He stared at his phone like it was more important than the woman standing in front of him. Pride was controlling him. He wanted her to apologize properly, not just greet him. Glory waited for a few seconds, then she smiled faintly, not a happy smile but a tired one. She walked away quietly. That night, Joshua slept. Around 5:10 a.m., Glory woke up with difficulty breathing. It was sudden. Her chest felt tight. Her throat felt strange. She tried to sit up and calm herself down, but it got worse. Glory had a medical condition that affected her breathing and heart rhythm. She managed it well and rarely spoke about it because she did not want to be treated like a fragile person. But when it attacked fast. She reached for the bedside drawer where her medication was kept, but her hands were shaking too much. Panic began to rise. She turned to Joshua and tapped him gently. "Joshua!" No response. She tapped again, stronger. Joshua opened his eyes slightly and brushed her hand away. "Please, let me sleep," he muttered. Glory froze. She tried to speak again, but her voice was weak. She needed help. She needed him to stand up. She needed him to check the drawer. She needed him to call someone. But Joshua turned away, and Glory was left alone in the dark, fighting for breath. She forced herself out of bed and tried to reach the medication properly, but her legs were weak. She staggered and sat on the floor beside the bed, still struggling. Her body fought quietly. No shouting, no noise, just silent suffering. Minutes passed, her strength faded, and Joshua slept through it. By the time Joshua woke up later that morning, Glory was already gone. Joshua woke up around 7 a.m. and rushed to work. He did not check on her. He did not speak to her. He did not notice the unusual silence. He left the house with pride still sitting in his chest. All day he went about his work like everything was normal, until he returned home that night and found Glory on the floor. That was when the truth destroyed him. At the hospital, the doctor explained that Glory likely had a severe episode early in the morning and needed immediate help. If she had gotten help quickly, there was a chance she could have survived. Joshua heard those words and his body went cold because he remembered. She tried to wake him. He pushed her away, not because he hated her, but because he wanted to win a silent argument. The days after her death were heavy. Glory's family arrived in shock. Joshua's family also came. People cried, people prayed, people asked questions. Joshua could not explain the real story, because how does a man confess that pride made him ignore his wife's final cry for help? The burial came quickly. Joshua stood there watching them lower Glory into the ground, and he felt like the world was punishing him in the most permanent way possible. That woman was not just his wife. She was his friend. She was his home. She was the one who tried to bring peace even when she was hurt. Now she was gone. After the burial, the house became unbearable. The kitchen was too quiet. The bedroom felt haunted. Even the balcony felt like a memory that refused to die. Joshua began to understand something people rarely admit. Pride does not feel dangerous when it is small. It feels like strength. It feels like control. But pride can destroy the people closest to you, and by the time you realize it, the damage is irreversible. Joshua kept replaying the same moment in his head. If only he had responded to her greeting. If only he had apologized for the breakfast insult. If only he had opened his eyes at 5:10 a.m. If only he had asked, "What is wrong?" If only he had stood up and helped her. But life does not respond to if only. Joshua's regret became his daily companion, not the kind that fades quickly, but the kind that sits quietly in the heart and speaks at night when the world is silent. And that is the lesson inside this story. Sometimes people think love will always be there. They think their partner will always return. They think silence is a harmless punishment. They think pride is a sign of strength. But sometimes the person you are ignoring is not just hurt. Sometimes they are in danger. Sometimes they are reaching out for help. And sometimes the last opportunity to choose love comes quietly in the middle of the night with a gentle touch and a weak voice. Joshua lost Glory not because he did not love her, but because he allowed pride and ego to become louder than love. And now, the apology he refused to say when she was alive has become the apology he will repeat for the rest of his life. Because some regrets do not heal, they only remain. Thank you for listening to this story. If this message touched you, please don't just watch and scroll. Subscribe to this channel for more powerful stories, like this video, and leave a comment below. Have you ever allowed pride to damage a relationship, or have you experienced something similar? Also, don't forget to share this story with your family and friends, because sometimes one story can save a home. Pride is expensive, and ego can destroy what love built. Until next time, stay safe, choose love, and be kind.